honored to welcome Aadi Gupta. Aadi, can you say your first name for me?
Aditya?
Okay, I knew I couldn't say it. Anyway, I thank God that I can call you Aadi.
Yeah.
Um, Aadi is a legally blind motivational speaker, endurance athlete, and the founder of the Blind to Limits movement. Aadi has run marathons, traveled the world solo, and shared stages with powerful voices like Russell Brunson and Kaylee Chu. His message reminds us that sometimes what we see as our greatest weakness may actually become our compass toward purpose, courage, and unstoppable momentum. Addie, welcome to the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. How are you?
Thank you, Michelle, for inviting me. And I'm feeling amazing. I'm so excited to be here and share my story with your audience and hopefully inspire them to take some action in their own life.
That's so awesome. I have to first apologize for the technical difficulties that we had and coming in late, but we are here now and we are good. So, before we dive into your message, can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? What was the moment that helped you begin moving from unseen to unstoppable?
Yeah, for sure. So, as Michelle mentioned, I'm legally blind. And for the longest time, I struggled to accept that. I didn't want to share with people that I'm visually impaired. And I didn't want to use my cane in public because of all the stigmas related to blindness that I believed in. But that all changed when I went to a summer camp for blind people last year, where I was volunteering as a camp counselor. After the camp ended, I wanted to go to New York, but I didn't really believe I could do it. Initially, I was supposed to go with a friend, but when he canceled, I canceled as well because I was like, there's no way I'm traveling around New York on my own. But then, like, everything changed for me because I met one little 6-year-old girl. She was also visually impaired. And the way she carried herself, she was so fearless and courageous. Like, when I first met her, I was supposed to guide her to her cabin, but she just decided to pull out her cane and started walking ahead of everyone else to find her cabin on her own. And in that moment, I was like, if this little girl can take on her unknown, why can't I? Right? Like if she can own her cane and use it to challenge whatever she's facing, like why can't I do the same, right? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to use her as inspiration and just book my flight to New York. And that's what I did. And that experience completely changed me as a person and what I saw the world as.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, I've been to New York and I had problems getting around, and reading the signs and being like, okay, how do I do this subway thing? And because in Hawaii, I mean, I live here in Hawaii and the island is small, so we don't have subways and things. We just finally got like this rail, but still, I'm like, just to imagine not having, like being visually impaired, that would be even more difficult. And you did it solo. That is, I want to say, crazy amazing. But that, oh, I love it. Thank God for that 6-year-old little girl.
Yeah, or else I
Yeah,
wouldn't be here today.
that is so good. Look at you. So you speak about micro. Oh, I'm just hopping in so quickly. But what I wanted to explain was I have what is called the Aloha Always framework. And that is the one framework that ties in all of my guests. We
Hmm.
go through the ALOHA, which is affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. And when I've talked to people now that I've been on for a bit, I've spoke to people all over the world. Um, Saudi Arabia, Africa, Spain, here in the US, Australia, all over. So I love seeing that people walk in Aloha in their very own ways. So
Hmm.
we'll jump into that. And the first A in Aloha is the affirmations and actions. So you
Yeah.
speak about micro breakthroughs and building confidence through small wins. What is one action someone can take today when they feel limited by fear?
Yeah, so this is one of the things I also talk about in my keynote. But we really need to focus on the small goals rather than worrying about the big goals, because that is what actually helps us develop our self confidence, right? So one small action that anyone can take is write down a list of your accomplishments or things that you're proud of, right? Because similar to when I started running my first marathon, I didn't really believe I could do it until I put the work in or until I broke it down into smaller pieces. But once I did the first 5K, the first 10K, I was like, okay, I just need to do that 4 more times or need to do the 5K 8 more times. And when you break that goal down into smaller pieces, your brain makes it feels like more doable because you've already done that kind of thing before. So, what I would suggest is write down a list of all the accomplishments that you're proud of, and then maybe read them out to yourself daily, because that will show your brain that, look, I have done these things, I have overcome challenges in my life. And if you're struggling with something at the moment, that will give you the motivation you need to keep going because you might be feeling low at certain time in your life, but when you do that practice, when you do that daily, you'll realize that yes, you are capable. You may not be as good or as satisfied with your life where you are right now, but you have accomplished hard things and you will continue to do so.
That is such good advice because just writing it down and reading it back to yourself. I know for myself that affirmations that um, having that in front of you, having that written out and knowing that, you know what, yeah, I've done all of these things. I've done hard things. It's okay. I can get through this and move forward. And,
Hmm.
it's so important. That's why I tell people a lot of times that they should journal because sometimes we don't write it down and we forget, right? We forget about the things that we've done. But if
Yeah.
we journal, then we can see the progression of things. And yeah, that's so
Yeah,
good.
no, for sure. I completely agree with journaling as well because I think journaling is another thing I also really love to talk about because I think that more than anything has really changed my life in a lot of ways because when you journal things out, you really can overcome your inner critic because oftentimes you have all these thoughts running around in your head and you almost feel paralyzed. But when you journal, when you write those thoughts down, I feel like they lose their power over me because now I'm like, oh, it's just on page. It's just another piece of paper or whatever you're writing on, right? So it really helps you reconnect with yourself and find your true self in that way.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So the L in Aloha is leadership and love. You had a powerful encounter with a fearless 6 year old girl that challenged your insecurities. How did that moment teach you to lead yourself with more honesty and compassion?
Oh yeah. For sure. Like that moment definitely changed my perspective because like she was just honest about who she was, right? She wasn't thinking about what people would think if she went ahead by herself or if she started using her cane. And just I think as children don't really realize the society or the consequences in society. And I think that can be quite refreshing in a way because as we grow older, we kind of lose that childish curiosity or that childish fearlessness. And just witnessing that completely changed me because I'm like, I'm caring about all these people and what they might be thinking. but that's actually stopping me from doing the things I want in life, right? And that just got me out to go on a journey to be more honest with myself and learn to accept my cane for what it was. Like it wasn't a crutch, but it was actually a compass that was pointing me in the right direction. And yeah, it's crazy how small moments like that can just shift your perspective in a certain way.
I love the way that you say it wasn't a crutch, it was a compass. You know, when
Hmm.
I was younger, and I still have issues with my leg and I use a cane, but I was in intermediate. And now, intermediate, you know, at that age, kids can get brutal, right? So it was hard because I would get teased about using my crutches. And
Hmm.
the thing is that I was in pain if I didn't, but I didn't want to use them. So
Mm.
I would have to go to school and I would like hide them and then try to walk without it. And I would be
Yeah.
limping so bad. Then they would tease me about limping, right? So it didn't
Yeah.
matter what I was doing. It was just like, um, no matter what I was trying to do to almost like satisfy other people, it wasn't
Hmm.
me, right? It was the teasing, it was the mocking. And I was like, oh, if
Yeah.
I went this way, if I walked this way, then they wouldn't be. But I was like, oh, it's not even helping. And there was one time I stuck my crutches behind like the building and I thought, this is good. No one will find it and I'll be fine. And then I got called into the counselor's office and he had my crutches.
Uh,
he, yeah, he had my crutches and he goes, you can't not use your crutches. You need to use them, you know?
mm.
And I was like, I don't want to. I want to go home then. And so, and plus two, I got called into the counselor's office from the middle of class. I didn't want to go back to class. That'd make it even worse.
Yeah. You come back
So
to classes or crutches. It's like, oh, where did this come from?
I know. So I was like, nope, I want to go home then. So that day I went home and it was hard. But yeah, you know, kids can get brutal. But that little girl, she was like, no, I got this is me and I'm gonna take what I
Yeah.
can. And like you said, she popped open her cane and she took off in
Yeah.
front of everyone.
Yeah. I
So
think I think with teenagers, right, it's you never know where you're going to get. And, sometimes I'd be more scared of a group of teenagers than a group of gangsters because I feel like gangsters at least have a code of conduct. Like, they're probably not going to assault a blind person. But teenagers, man, you never know. They're still developing. They have no idea of morals and whatnot. And they're just trying to be cool and have fun with their kids. Because, I mean, not their kids, but with other kids.
with
Uh,
their friends,
with
yeah,
their
you know,
friends,
like
yes.
the in
And
crowd, right? If you
yeah, yeah.
if you're
So
teasing and mocking with everyone else, you're in the in crowd.
yeah, exactly. And I don't blame them necessarily because I've been there, like I know what it's like, but still, like it's you never know what you're going to get. So you just have to learn to be yourself. And I think that's what we really are doing in our teenage years, like figuring out who we are and how we can be the best version of ourselves. So it's a
Yeah,
journey of learning for sure.
yeah, that is for sure. You know, and just the other day I was having lunch with my husband and one of our friends, and he has what's called shield, and it's anti-bullying, and so he brings that into the schools now. And so it's so good that there's people, you know, out there that can see and understand that, you know, that kind of thing impacts people
Hmm.
and it needs to stop, because a lot of times those teenagers, you know, it's not that they're just doing it for whatever reason. What if they have, or most times it's because they have a broken home, right?
Yeah.
They have a broken home, so they're acting upon that. And so, yeah, we're talking about that anti-bullying and all, but that's good. So, overcoming obstacles. That's the O in Aloha. Your message asks, what is your cane? How can people begin to reframe what they see as a weakness into a source of strength?
Mm. Yes, I think this took me a long time to figure out myself, but you really have to change your perspective and think of it as your uniqueness rather than your weakness. Because once you realize that once I realized that my cane makes me unique, I'm like, I can do so many more things. Or if I just do something interesting, people will think a lot more of it than rather than just someone other
Think less of
person
it,
doing
right?
it. Yeah. And like I'll just give you an example. So when I say I run a marathon, when versus someone else says they run a marathon, we've done the exact same thing. Like it's equally hard, maybe slightly harder for me because of the logistics, but in terms of the endurance, it's equally hard for both of us, right? But people will just take it a lot more, like find it a lot more interesting if a blind person has run a marathon, right? And that's what I tried to figure out. Is like, how can I make my journey unique, rather than just being about blindness, right? And I think a lot of people also, when I was traveling around New York, they asked me, right, like, how are you doing this by yourself? Like, are you able to see? Like, it's so crazy that you're doing that. And it's just showing you how, people don't really expect blind people to be able to do certain things. And when you are able to just change their perception, you can also change your own perception about what you can and cannot do. And to get back to your question, like, how do you reframe your weakness as your strength? You just have to find your unique angle to attack it with, and eventually, I think you can find your own unique way to reframe it in your own mind.
So good. That uniqueness. Sometimes people, they don't realize that if they just like held on to what makes them them and that authenticity, they will find that strength. But it seems like no, it's the odd thing, right? It's the it's the one that no one else has, so why do I want to be that way?
Yeah.
And I'm like, only later, after all of the issues that I had and knowing that this isn't going to go away.
Hmm.
That's the one
Yeah.
thing, right? You're like,
Never
this
goes
isn't
away.
yeah, this isn't just going to go away. You have to kind of live with it, and if you continue on that way, it's just going to make it harder. It's like going against the grain,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that is so good to find that unique part of you and be like, no, turn it around, flip the switch, and make it into your strength.
Yeah.
And
And also just want to add quickly that, you know, for the longest time, I was like, just an average person, and I'm like, I want to get more noticed, or like I want to be more visible, or like be more interesting, right? And I realized like I can just be more interesting by pulling out a cane. Like that's all I need to do. Immediately people will see me, and maybe not always the best light, but I think that's just the type of thing you need to do. You just reframe it so it becomes more positive rather than negative.
yes, so my left leg was two and a 2.25 inches short for almost my whole life, and just maybe a couple years ago they extended my leg. When I did a
Mhm.
hip replacement, they were able to put in a larger or longer femur stem so that my leg was actually now pretty much even. But before, even doing things like squats at the gym and leg presses, you cannot do leg presses with two legs if one leg is shorter than the other. You're gonna,
Yeah.
tweak your back or something like that.
Yeah.
So I always thought I can't. do these things, right? That's the way that I looked at it. Like, I can't do this one, I can't do that. I couldn't do any of the standing ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was limiting myself because of all the I can'ts.
Yeah.
But then um, one day I was like, well, I'm going to do this anyway because I need to. I wanted to be able to work out, and I was 225 pounds and I went down to 135,
Oh,
and
wow.
I lost a whole bunch of weight, but I didn't have the muscle mass because I was just like, I'm just going to lose this weight. And I was like,
Mm.
no, this is not a good thing. So I had to start working out the muscles. And what I did was I put a 5 pound plate on the ground and I started working out. And I realized this works because of the difference in the
In the
plate
height of the
size.
plate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would get on the leg press and I would plop a 5 pound weight under my shoe and then push it up so that it's even, right? And so
Yeah.
I could actually do leg presses with the weight underneath it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, not even caring about anyone else in the gym, but I was looking at the fact that, wow, I can do this. I can actually figure out a
Yeah.
way to make these workouts work for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it was actually impressing a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that I was doing what I was doing with the disability that I had and being like, no, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to
Yeah.
figure it out. I'm going to make a way for me to get by and do this anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like just posting on social media at the time. I was like just saying, oh, whoa, I figured it out, or that kind of thing, because it was good for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I would be like, like filming stuff and just taking note, because to me that was my record keeping. It was
Yeah.
a way for me to keep track of my weight that I was losing and keep track of all the things that I was doing. And in that, there was so many people that was starting to follow me and watch what I was doing.
Mm.
It was the craziest thing because I didn't expect it, right? You're
Yeah.
just trying to flip the switch. You're trying to do things that make it good for you, but you
Yeah.
never know how you're inspiring someone else. And it may
Exactly.
not be that that person had a leg issue, or that they have uh, you know, they're not blind or anything like that, but they have something else and they're like, whoa, if this person can do it, then I can, right? What am
Yeah.
I complaining about? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
that is so
exactly.
good.
And I think the other thing is that you just have to find creative ways to do things. Um, like I truly believe that there's nothing a blind person can do except maybe drive a car, right? But
Mhm.
the thing is, you just have to find creative ways to do it. And once you do, like, you realize, like, oh, there's actually so many things I can do. And similar to you, right? Like, when I first started losing my vision, um, I stopped running because I used to run as a child. But once I started to lose my vision, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm going to run into poles or trip over a curb or run into like someone. Like, that's just not going to go well, right? So I just started living a much smaller version of my life. I stopped doing the things I loved. But then I found out about a running club called Achilles, right? And this is an international organization who help people with disabilities, not just vision impairment, but all sorts of other impairments as well, to get involved in running and other athletic sports. So once I found out that, yeah, like I had just assumed that I wouldn't be able to run anymore. But once I found out about Achilles, I was like, oh, I can still do this. I just have to do it in a different way. And that just opened a whole new set of possibilities for me, which, I had previously never considered. Like, it made me question what else was out there for me that I'd previously just written off that I could actually do. I just had to figure out the right way to do it. So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, like those small, I think you just have to realize that there is a way you can do what you love. You just have to love it enough to find a way to do it.
Yes, exactly. And all the things like the I can'ts, you just have to turn it into I can. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, after you started losing your vision, you're like, I'll just not do this because I can't,
Mhm.
you know? But then just learning to do it a different way. So you said you started losing your vision. What
Mhm.
happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, that's totally okay. So it's just a genetic condition. And for most of my life, I had pretty stable vision. Like the only thing I was struggling with was like, let's say you were playing cricket in the park and I would struggle to catch the ball, or if I was sitting at the sorry, if I was sitting at the back of the classroom, I would struggle to read the board sometimes, right? But that was the extent of my vision impairment for most of my life. And because of that, I didn't really have to use a cane, right? Or I didn't really have to identify myself as blind or visually impaired to anyone I met because most of the time they would just assume I'm quote unquote normal. Um, but then like after COVID, I like my vision started to deteriorate and that just was like a whole different experience for me because I had obviously had most of my vision my entire life. But then when it slowly started to go, at first it was really hard for me to accept like, you know, I stopped being able to read things like on paper. And it was harder for me to navigate around because I wouldn't be able to see like, you know, poles and things. So I was always nervous when I was walking around by myself. And yeah, so it just kind of deteriorated over time. And currently it's at a point where like my central vision is quite poor. So when I'm looking at the screen, I'm not really seeing anything. I'm just seeing like a big blob and like a like a white light and then black for the screen. Like that's all I'm really seeing when I look straight at the screen. But I can kind of see my surroundings a bit more. Like I can see there's a window to my left and there's a closet to my right, that kind of thing. um, and it's just like it's just a genetic condition, and sometimes you don't really know when it's going to onset. So for me, it was in like my early 20s that it slowly started to deteriorate. Some people it's earlier, some people it never happens. So just kind of a it depends on. I mean, there's no you can't really control it. It just kind of yeah happens over time.
Wow. Yeah, so I can see, like being able to run and do the things like you said, most times was just normal to getting to where you're like, I can't even read what's on the page,
Hmm.
and then having to use the cane. So yeah, I can see that to be challenging if you didn't do what you did, if you didn't meet the little girl and start to reevaluate yourself and be like, okay, I can do this. I just got to figure it out and do
Yeah.
it a different way.
Hmm.
So that is so good. So inspiring because there's so many people who have disabilities and don't um don't change things. Don't,
Yeah.
and they just it's it's just hard,
Yeah.
and so they feel that their lives is just hard. And for me, after the hip surgery, I thought, this is amazing. My leg is, normal. It's very, like, slightly shorter than the other because they couldn't stretch it out all the way. But my feet meet, right? And that was the first thing I actually did after surgery, was to pull the sheet off of my feet because I wanted to see my legs like a normal person, where your feet meet.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is crazy good. But now I still use a cane because what wasn't expected, and they can't tell, was the fact that there's a tendon that runs from your groin to your leg, and it can only stretch so much. It's a tendon, it's not a muscle, right? So
Mm.
it was, it's still. a problem for me and it still causes pain.
Mm.
And they just said that it's just going to take you longer, right, to heal. It's not like a normal hip replacement because they did extend the leg. And I'm like, but it's supposed to be, in my mind, because that's what I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted it to be an instant fix. And I'm like, but it's
Yeah.
supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
Um, and because of the pain, I was afraid. Like the pain made me fear
Mm.
hurting myself again or like damaging something in my leg. And so I was more afraid of doing stuff because of that pain.
Yeah.
So I can see like when people have disabilities or when things happen and they have these physical limitations, then they're like, ah, I just shouldn't. And the
Mm.
fear, like impacts them so much. So for you to be like, oh, I can do this. I can figure out a different way to do it. And having groups like Achilles to see disabilities for what it is and help people through it, not keep them stuck in it, but help them
Mm-hmm.
through it and be like, you can, you can live your life normal. You can do the things
Yeah.
just in a different way, just
Yeah.
in a different way. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's so powerful.
Yeah. And another thing I want to add is that, for the longest time, I was saying to myself, like, there's a lot of advances in the medical field that are happening. So I'll live my life after my vision gets better or after they find a cure for my treatment. Right. And that was such a negative thing to do because I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for my life to change. And it never did. And I still don't know if it ever will or not. But now I've stopped waiting, right? Now I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do what I want, whether my vision gets better or not. I'm going to live with it like it is and be happy with it. If it gets better, that's great. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean I have regrets for the rest of my life. And I think that's really important for someone with a disability that, they're like, oh, there's so many advances in the medical field or in the AI field, and my life will change if I just wait. But it may or may not change. If it does change, that's amazing. But you can't keep waiting for that to happen and stop living your life in the present.
Yes, that is the key right there is stop waiting.
Mm-hmm.
That waiting, because I know after surgery I waited a long time because I kept thinking and I kept telling myself it'll get better. Um, when the pain is gone, right?
Yeah.
As soon as this pain is gone, I'll be able to do this. As soon as the pain is gone, I'll 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 stretch it more because in time the pain will be gone.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't realize was the fact that I wasn't doing anything, was creating more problems.
Mm.
Waiting and waiting for the pain to be gone was literally the wrong thing to do
Yeah.
because moving, right? Yes, exactly. I laugh about it too now too
Yeah.
because the waiting was the problem.
Yeah.
And getting up, doing things, stretching it out, actually moving my leg in the correct pattern of a walk, like because you're gonna stretch that tendon, you're gonna stretch your leg in
Yeah.
certain ways, and actually having that motion was what was truly needed. And I
Mm.
waited for the pain to subside when
Yeah.
if I just worked through the pain, it would have been a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, things like that. You really should not wait because I was actually putting myself in more of a disabled state
Mm.
because of waiting. But yeah, live your life good and, free no matter what. And that's an important thing to put into your mind because that mindset is what shifts everything, right?
Yes.
So good, so good. Okay, so H is health and healing. The H in Aloha is health and healing. Vulnerability is a huge part of your message. How has embracing vulnerability limited? Nope, nope, helped. Sorry, I seen that wrong. See, I am too far away from my computer. I have glasses on.
That's
don't
okay.
don't
No
judge
worries
me.
at all.
Let me read that again. Vulnerability is a huge part of your message. How has embracing vulnerability helped you heal, grow, and step into a bigger life?
Oh, vulnerability is so important. I feel like it's the compass to my life, and that's the message I share. Is once you're able to embrace vulnerability in all aspects, then you can truly start living your life, right? And in my keynote, I discuss that there's three key pillars of vulnerability, and they each lead us to a different point, or they each point us towards a different aspect of life, which is important. So the first pillar that I talk about is honesty. Um, so honesty is internal vulnerability, and it points us towards personal growth. And what I share with that message is that you need to be honest with yourself. You can't be lying to yourself or, pretending to be someone you're not. You need to be honest about who you are to yourself. You need to own your truth. And for me, this meant that I needed to acknowledge the fact that I actually did need to use a cane. That if I didn't use a cane, I might hurt myself or injure myself, or worse, injure someone else by, if they're not paying attention, I'm not paying attention, might run into each other and something might happen, right? So that once I realized that, I was like, okay, that led me towards my personal growth where I actually started using a cane and developed my self confidence. The second pillar I talk about is shame. So, shame is interpersonal vulnerability. You need to show your true self to the people around you and to the world because that will actually help you connect with people better. So, shame points us towards meaningful connections. And for me, this meant that I needed to be honest about my condition with my friends, right? With my family, with the people I care about. And it doesn't mean you have to share that with everyone, like the entire world, like post on your Instagram. But if you're struggling with something, at least be honest with the people around you because that will actually help you connect better. You know, one of my first best friends, like my best friend to this day, is the person who I told about my vision impairment. He was the first person I shared it with. And to this day, like 10 years later, we're still good friends. And I didn't even know it then, but when I opened up about my disability, it actually brought us closer together because he could understand me for who I was rather than, think I'm weird or I'm doing something stupid, right? And the third pillar of vulnerability is uncertainty, which points us towards the life we actually want to live because we're always afraid of stepping into the unknown. We have no idea where life will take us. If you ask that person out or if you book a flight to a new city, right? You don't know what will happen. But once you learn to embrace that and just take the first step anyway, you realize that it's not actually as bad as you first thought. Like, you don't need to have a 10-point plan to reach your goal. You just need to be willing to take the first step. And once you take that step, you'll find the next thing and the next thing. And that's exactly what happened to me in New York as well, right? Because when I first landed there, I had no idea how I was going to, cross the street or find my restaurant or find get on the right train. But I trusted myself that I would be okay. And that led to me spending a whole week by myself, meeting lots of new people and doing a lot of things that I never thought were possible for me. So, in that sense, embracing vulnerability has truly shown me the direction I need to go. It has helped me heal and grow in both myself as a person, but also in my relationships and allowed me to pursue the things I truly want in life.
So incredible. That is just amazing. People would take even like the word like shame and not think of it as a strength, you know? And how you just worded that, it's like, no, you have to take that, like honesty, the shame, and embracing your disabilities. That is power in it instead of looking at the negative side of things,
Hmm.
right? And being like, oh no, that's shame is such a bad thing or whatever. No, being honest and having people around you to lean on and tell them, like you said, your friend was the first person you told. And it's like, you can't, I always say, God can't heal what you hide. And it's the same
Mm.
thing. Like when you're hiding, who can help you? Who would know? Because you're
Yeah.
hiding it all, you
Yeah.
know? So that is so good. So I
Yeah.
know that there's people out there right now who are hiding things.
Yeah.
And so just by you saying that, now maybe they can find that strength and that inspiration to be like,
Hmm.
there's people around me. They just don't know what I'm going through right now. So
Hmm.
just to be open. So that is so good.
Yeah. And I realized that once you stop hiding, you kind of disconnect with the people that don't matter anyway. It's like a filter, right? So there's a part of you that's before that you're, putting on a mask, pretending to be someone you're not. And you may have connections with people, but they're not really connecting with the real you. They're connecting with the fake version that you're putting on. And I found that those connections are always superficial. But once you show your true self, like you'll probably lose some people, right? Some people will not be want to be part of your journey. And that helps you find the people that actually stay for the long run, that actually connect with you for who you are despite your disability, right? So it creates a filter for you to find the right people in your life that you truly connect with. And I think that is so important because like it's not only for your personal development, but also helps you find the right people in your life.
Yeah, that is so good to use it as a, to allow it to be a filter
Hmm.
because you're right. People can connect with you, but if they're not connecting with the real you, then everything is fake, right? Because then as soon
Yeah.
as things change, as soon as you do something else, they'll be like, "Oh, that's not you." You're like, "No, that is the real me now."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I always say, and I have 4 kids, right? I have four
Hmm.
kids, 8 grandkids now, but I always say, be you, be real, because there's nobody else like you, right? And you need to
Sorry about that.
but yeah, so I tell my kids like, yeah, that's just what you need to do. That's what you need to do is to be real. I know that we were supposed to just go for an hour and 11:30, but being that we started late, are you good to go on a little bit longer?
Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. That was just my alarm to wake up. um,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, it's morning here in Australia, so that's fine.
Okay. Oh, perfect then. We'll carry on. The last A in Aloha is acute awareness. They, so you say that vulnerability is a compass. So how can someone recognize when fear is actually pointing them toward their next step?
Hmm. I think this is the hardest part because you never really know until you take the step if it's the right one, right? But once you take the step, you'll find if it's the right one or not. So, um,
Yeah.
there's no way to figure out, right? Like if what you're going to do is right or wrong. But I think what vulnerability helps with is that it helps you be more authentic in your life, um, to yourself, in your relationships, and to the world around you. And once you're more authentic, it doesn't matter if you always take the right step or not, right? Sometimes you may go in the wrong direction, but then you realize, like, oh, this wasn't the right path. So I'll go into the next one. So it gives you a chance to be yourself no matter what step you take. And in that sense, any step you take becomes right, right? Like I don't know if this is answering the question exactly, but it just helps you, like, over time figure out what the correct thing is for you, right? And for me personally, right, when I decided I want to go to New York, before that, I was debating. I wasn't sure if I should go or not. And if you think about it, both steps would have been correct to some extent. Like, even if I hadn't gone, like, I probably wouldn't have my transformation, but life would have took me in another direction. But since I embraced vulnerability, I embraced my fear and took that step, I think my life got fast forwarded, right? I The transformation that might have taken a few more years got done a lot faster. And yeah, so in that sense, it helps you because it it allows you to take the steps that you're not always sure about, and it says that, you know what, even if you don't take the right one, it's okay, because every step is the right one, and it will lead you to your next step.
That is so good because, I always believe that confidence and that change and willingness that you had after like your transformation, right? And now you're like, I can do this and there's other ways to do things. It doesn't happen staying still. It
Mm-hmm.
happens while you're taking that action.
Yeah.
So, yes, for you to say any step is the right step because that's action. You're taking action. But stepping past your fears just fast forwards that action, right? It
Mm-hmm.
fast forwards the thing that is on the other side of fear. Because a lot of times it's those things that the wall is fear. And if you just go through it, if you got through that, it just will help you move a lot quicker. So I, after my leg and everything like that, I had a trip to Machu Picchu and I had the cane, right? And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, how do I do Machu Picchu with a cane?
Mm.
It's gonna be so hard, and I'm gonna be like sore. And all this stuff was like just coming into my mind, and all the can'ts, right? Oh, I can't. Well, this is gonna be hard. It's gonna be painful. I'm gonna do this. All this bad things. I kept like you, and you put it on yourself. I never even got there yet. Never even got on the plane yet, and I'm putting
Yeah.
all these things on me. And then I was like, well, we always have a guide. If we and you said vulnerability is key because I just opened up and I said, I have a cane. I have, this is what happened. I I don't know if I'll be able to do this, but I want to be able to go. I want to
Mm-hmm.
try. And so the guide knew that I was going to come in with a cane. He knew that there may be times when we're going to need a stop. And if I didn't open my mouth, it would be like, let's go, and I'd be left behind. But we hired a guide just for us. And we
Mm-hmm.
didn't go with a group, so I didn't have to keep up with anyone else. And it was just my husband and I and the guide. And I actually was able to see Machu Picchu in its glory and be right there and actually tour the place because he was able to stop when we needed to stop, take some different routes that I wouldn't have known of. because I would be
Mm-hmm.
following everybody else's path, right? But
Yeah.
he was able to take those turns and those different routes. And yes, he did open some areas that was closed off. And he was like, no, we're going to go through here because it'll be easier for you. Things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so I was able to do it. And that's the thing, vulnerability. If you're not vulnerable enough to share and tell someone, like, okay, this is me, and be authentic, then no one can help you because they don't even know what you need help with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
And
is
this reminds me, like, when I went scuba diving in canes, right? I wasn't using a cane, but I was really nervous because I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to see the hand signs that they're supposed to be doing. Like, what is like? I don't know
right.
when they're gonna tell us to go up or down and whatever else. So I was really nervous, right? But because you go with like I think a certified guide or like who is kind of holding on to you, the first time you do it. So, we told them that, I'm legally blind or whatever. I don't remember what we said at the time, but so he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just guide him around. And it ended up being that I felt a lot better and safer just because I told him. Um, if I hadn't told him, I would have been nervous the entire time that, oh, I can't see. Like, are they telling us to go up? Are we going in the right direction? What if I'm lost? What if I'm doing something wrong? But since I had told him that have a visual impairment and I might not be able to see the signs you're making, he's like, yeah, I'll just tap you, on your back or something to signal that we need to go right or left or we're going up. And it was such an amazing experience because I was so nervous going in, but when I did it, I had the most profound experience. Like I just loved all the corals. I don't know if how many fishes I saw, but just the natural, being in the water, being in nature is just so peaceful. And if I hadn't told them, I might not have done it, right? So in that
Yeah,
sense, vulnerability is a compass because it shows you what you need to do in order to do the next step, right? In order to take your next step or in order to overcome that fear. And
right.
yeah.
Yeah, see, that is so good because people don't realize that if you're just honest and vulnerable enough to tell someone or to share that with someone, it doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you would have been nervous and scared the whole time. How would you enjoy yourself? But telling him, the guy was like, oh, I can do this. I can tell you, like I'll tap your back. I'll do this. So there was other ways to experience it and still be safe, but you just needed to say something.
Yeah.
And I snorkel here in Hawaii, and so I love getting in the water and the corals and seeing everything like that. So I understand like the beauty of it all, and for
Mm-hmm.
you to experience that is amazing. So
Yeah,
that is so
for
good
sure.
that you did it. That is amazing. Like people wouldn't think, right? Like, oh, how did you do it? You're visually impaired. How did you do it? But yeah, there's ways. But you're living your life fully. It doesn't matter if you have a disability or not. You're continuing to live your life fully. That
Yeah.
is so important. So
No, for sure.
when people hear your story and your message, what do you hope they carry with them long after this conversation ends?
Um, that's a hard question. But I want to say be blind to limits, right? Like there's always going to be things that are challenging that you think are your own limitations, but just be blind to them. Don't see them for the limits they are, but see them as a stepping stone they can be to get you to the next stage in life. Because once you reframe those limits as stepping stones, you're like, I have so much higher to go. And I think yeah, that's about it. And I think the secondary message I would also like to share is be honest and be vulnerable. Don't be afraid of vulnerability. It will show you your path when you feel lost.
That is
So
so good. That is so, so good. Thank you, Addie, for sharing your courage, your wisdom, and your powerful reminder of our limits, that our limits do not get the final say. Be
mhm.
blind to limits. I love that. Be blind to those limits. So, Ohana, friends, anyone, everyone who's listening today, please connect with Adi and follow his work through Blind to Limits. I will be posting his Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook all on the notes here. So you'll be able to keep connected with him and see all the amazing things that he's doing in his life. And Adi, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. This has been an amazing time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Michelle. It was so wonderful talking to you and, hearing all your different stories as well. I feel like I resonate so much with them, with different aspects of your life, even though, we're living on different sides of the world and have completely different kinds of disabilities. I
Yeah.
think there's still so much we can connect over and find similarities in our life.
Yes, and I think that's the way with people all over the world. Everyone and anyone who's listening, they can connect because we may have disabilities, all of us, somehow, some way. But if we're vulnerable enough and if we share and if we're blind to those limits, we can make it a better world and share and inspire each other. So, once again, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. This has been so amazing. Addie has been great. And I can't wait to see what else you're doing in your life. So, until next time, everyone, hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment, and we would love to read it. So until next time, God's blessings always, and ahui ho.
Thank you. Bye.